What good is a set of pod lights without a proper harness? Today we're going to be looking at the Morimoto 4-banger and the Baja Designs, specifically the relay harness. All right guys, let's look at the main part of this harness, the relay itself. Let's start with the Baja Designs. So we're picking up the Baja Designs relay here. Pretty basic relay, there's not a whole lot going on with it. You got a pretty wide mounting hole here. Overall, the relay is exposed, so you can just pull it right off the top. There's not any sealant or anything like that, no gaskets. So you will want to make sure you mount it in a good spot. Mount it vertically, always vertically, you guys. Overall, pretty basic relay. It works, it does the job. Moving on to the Morimoto relay harness. This one's a bit bigger of a unit as compared to the Baja Designs. You can start off with a mounting hole. It's a little bit smaller, so most of the time it's going to get the job done for you, but if you need to improve it, go ahead and just drill it out a little bit. It should be super easy. Moving on to the actual base of it, you have a rubber cap on the bottom covering up the wiring entrances. And the nice part about this relay is there's actually a rubber gasket lining the bottom here over the cap. So when you seal this relay down, it is actually a little more waterproof than the Baja Designs relay is. The relay on the 4-banger harness is locked in place. You can see the latch here. It is really, really stiff, you guys. You're not going to be able to pull this off easily. So entrust with this that it is going to be a little more weatherproof than the Baja Designs. Alrighty guys, moving down the line, we're going to talk about the fuse itself. So on the Baja Designs harness, it looks like we have a 30 amp fuse, really nice from Baja Designs. The 4-banger fuse holder is smaller, tighter, and has better wire protection. It's not a big deal, but I'll give the point to Morimoto on this one. A really important characteristic about a relay harness is the actual sheathing. So looking at the Baja Designs here, it looks like we have some type of like a rubber, almost like a shrink style sheathing. You know, it's gonna get the job done. It's not gonna be as rigid or as durable as say something like the Morimoto 4-banger harness. You can see here it's like a nylon. It has that kind of stretch fit. This is gonna be a lot more rigid compared to a rubber style over here with Baja Designs. Alrighty guys, moving on to the battery contact points on these harnesses. They're about the same here. They're gonna have the same length with the Morimoto and the Baja Designs. They're gonna have the same diameter, so no real differences there. A nice little perk is Morimoto does label their connections. So you got your positive on the Morimoto here, and then labeled on this side, you have the ground, which is the negative. Morimoto does label it. I get it, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's just one extra step. So let's talk about the switch itself, one of the most crucial points of this harness. So at some point, you're gonna have to drill a hole in your firewall. You're gonna have to route that switch wiring through your engine bay up into the interior. And this is really important, you guys. When you look at the size of this Baja Designs switch, this is the connector leading up to the switch. You're gonna have to run this through your firewall. You can unconnect it, thankfully, but look at how wide that is. You're gonna have to drill a pretty hefty hole in your firewall in order to pass this through. Compare this to the Morimoto barrel connector. This is not only more weatherproof, it's more rock solid of a connection. This is much slimmer in diameter compared to the Baja Designs harness. This means you have to drill a smaller hole, and not only that, Morimoto follows it up with a grommet. That way you're ensured to seal with your firewall, nothing's gonna get through. This by far is one of the biggest wins with the Morimoto harness. Baja Designs is a bit thicker, a bit wider, so you're gonna have to drill a bigger hole. Overall, the Morimoto's barrel connection is definitely the plus here. Let's talk about another main point on the harness, and that is the fun little switch. Let's start with Baja Designs. This is a pretty basic off-the-shelf switch. You see these things everywhere. It's your standard rocker style switch. It's got a little bit of a feedback to it. Rubber grommet that kind of helps cushion with it. The contact points on it are exposed. So if that's one thing that you need to keep note of, you do see the contacts on the switch leading into the wiring here. Alrighty guys, moving on to the Morimoto switch. Overall, right off the bat, this is looks like an aluminum button. So it's a full aluminum housing. You have a nice little thread right here to mount it to wherever you're gonna go. Extra accessory panel, right in your dashboard. Wherever you wanna mount this thing, it'll fit and it'll fit nicely. The Morimoto harness has a latching style switch. So that means when you hit the button, it's gonna lock for you. Has a nice little click to it as well. And a nice touch is the M actually lights up at night. So if you're driving around, it has a nice little accent light to it. You'll always know where your switch is. Just talking about switch design, you guys, Morimoto is specific, it's unique, it's gonna look a lot cleaner in the vehicle versus the Baja Designs switch, which is more run-of-the-mill, very common. You're gonna find this in a lot of lighting kits. Amazon, eBay, all over the world. Let's talk connectors. So these are going to be the connections leading into the pods themselves off the relay harness. Looking at the Baja Designs connector, it's a pretty standard connection. There's not a whole lot of craziness going on with it. It's got your grommet here, it has your latch, and then you have your 2 pins, positive and negative. This is gonna feed into the connection on the Baja Designs pod light. So you're just gonna match this latch up with the top, push in. It's a little stiff, but that is what you want in a good connector. You want it to be stiff so that it is weatherproof. One thing to note about the Baja Designs connection is it is Baja specific. So that means you can only use this connection or this relay harness with Baja Designs pod lights. Let's move on to the Morimoto harness. Moving on to the 4-banger harness, you can see it is your traditional Deutsch style connection. This is shared with hundreds of aftermarket lights across the market. They are labeled with light 1 and light 2, so again, Morimoto's labeling things for you, always nice. You have your single connection here, or your latch I should say, and then you have a 2-pin layout, traditional with Deutsch. A really big plus here is this is found across the board with tons of off-road lighting. So light bars, other pod lights, you name it, it probably has a Deutsch connection, meaning you can use the Morimoto harness on those lights. Depending on where you're mounting it, if it's a custom application, maybe you have an aftermarket bumper and you need some extra length, Morimoto took a step ahead and gave you extensions. You just simply connect it to where you would normally connect the pod light, hear that click, and now you have some extra room to mount it wherever you may need to. With these extensions, you guys, it is so nice that it's plug and play, so if you need that extra room, you have it on the fly. You don't have to cut up wiring, you don't have to deal with weatherproofing. It's all done for you with a single connection. Looking at the Baja Designs harness, you guys, they do not have extensions, so that means that you're gonna have to get a little creative on your own to make it fit your needs. You're gonna have to cut, you're gonna have to solder, you're gonna have to re-weatherproof it, and you might even void your warranty doing so. Nobody wants to do that. Morimoto makes it easy for you. Say you have a new Jeep or maybe the new Bronco and it has the factory upfitter switches or those auxiliary switches. This is where this is going to come into play. Morimoto came with an adapter for your barrel connection, so instead of having a switch to run through the firewall, you can run this straight into your factory upfitter wiring. That way you have all the buttons built in inside for you, so all you have to do is connect this straight to your factory upfitter switch wiring. So the way that this works is you're just going to unscrew this on the barrel connector. You're going to loosen it up. It comes right off, and you simply connect your barrel connection with the upfitter wiring. This locks into place and screw it back in. From there, all you have to do is connect this to your OEM wiring and you're good to go. All in all, you guys, these are both rock solid options. There's no denying that Baja Designs has been a leader in the market for years in the past. Morimoto has just filled the gap, learned from their shortcomings, and implemented it into their harness. But overall, guys, you can't go wrong with either choice. They both do the job, but Morimoto won this challenge. Guys, if you found something helpful today, make sure you subscribe to us, The Retrofit Source, on YouTube. If you want to know what fits your vehicle, head over to the website, enter your year, make, and model. You'll be shown everything that we cover, bumper to bumper.